I was upstairs when everyone told us to leave. I was downstairs, one floor below, staking out an appropriations meeting. There were appropriators who were talking about how much money to give for the rescue efforts in New York and for intelligence and law enforcement operations. There started to be a little bit more movement in there after Senator Lott and Senator Daschle came in to participate in the negotiations. They brought a couple of canine dogs in, and there were more security around that room. As time went on, suddenly Senator Lott and Senator Daschle were quickly escorted upstairs towards their offices on the second floor. They looked kind of panicked, kind of hurried, and the security officers took them to the second floor. Myself and a couple other reporters followed them up to the second floor, where security was trying to figure out where to take them. They took Senator Lott into his office on the second floor of the Capitol. They started to take Senator Daschle down towards the House side, and they quickly turned him around and brought him back into the Senate chamber. That's when we decided that's when we were told, that we should evacuate the building immediately.
Now, Dana, the Senate is, of course, the north side of the Capitol building. Now, we're looking at, these are live pictures of people coming out. This looks like more on the House side, but orient us. What are we looking at here?
I'm sorry, Judy, I don't know where the camera is that you're looking at. Okay. I think it's probably on the House side.
I think this is the House side. With the camera quickly panned over to the other side of the Capitol. There aren't that many people coming. Well, now we see a few more coming out. Dana, what about security measures at the Capitol? How much have they been stepped up since Tuesday morning?
They have been stepped up quite a bit. Certainly on Wednesday, there was a wider perimeter around the Capitol. Instead of checking our IDs and our parking passes right at the gates of the Capitol, or at least right at the entrance to the Capitol parking, it was about 2 or 3 block perimeter around the Capitol that they were checking IDs. Today it was a little bit more kind of business as usual. They just checked all of our IDs as we were coming into the Capitol, but there has been certainly a more visible presence of security, and there haven't been any regular Capitol tours around today.
All right, so Dana Bash reporting the Senate side, and now we're looking at the House side of the United States Capitol evidently being evacuated as well. Our correspondent, congressional correspondent Jonathan Karl is on the phone now with us. Jonathan, what have you learned?
Well, I'm standing literally about 10 feet away from Senator Daschle, the Senate leader, who is conferring with John McCain and John Kerry and Patrick Leahy. Many senators have come out here, asked Daschle what is going on. I tell you, they look extremely calm because what they believe is this was a suspicious package that was found. And Daschle told one of the other senators that the dogs, meaning the bomb-sniffing dogs, reacted negatively. In other words, that it did not contain a bomb. But one of the Capitol Hill police came over to Daschle a little while ago and said this would take about 15 minutes to clear and to make sure the situation is under control. But a state of real calm out here behind the Capitol. Senators conferring, waiting to be able to go back in. Much different from what it was just 5 or 6 minutes ago when everybody was running out, being told by the police that they had to immediately evacuate.
Well, we certainly don't want to minimize any threat in this atmosphere that we're in after Tuesday morning. Everything has to be taken seriously. But having said that, yesterday, there have been a series of hoaxes, threats. A number of places have been evacuated. As I said, American University here in Washington completely evacuated earlier today. Kate Snow, you're joining us now on the telephone. Tell us where you are, congressional correspondent.
Yeah, Judy, I'm actually next to the camera, the shot that you're looking at. I'm actually standing right next to that camera. These are members of the House that you see coming down the steps. We don't have a great shot here, but the House of Representatives, they have all been inside receiving an intelligence briefing. I also see pages, a lot of pages. These are young people who work in the Congress coming down the steps. Now, the Senate had been evacuated first, we understand, and based on John Karl's reporting, that was because of some sort of suspicious package. All this is very preliminary. The House had not been evacuated, but based on what I'm seeing right now, it looks like they are now evacuating the House of Representatives. Judy, very little information about why. All I can tell you is that people are very much on edge here, as they are in many parts of the country right now. And when someone says the word evacuation, I think that's why you see some people moving rather quickly.
That's
Judy.
right. They take it seriously. And as we're sitting here, you have to think what is going on in the minds and the operations of these security people, because if they are receiving a number of threats, which one has to assume they are all the time, they've got to be able to distinguish between what's real and what isn't. And we heard Jon Karl saying, Senator Daschle, the Senate Democratic leader, the Senate Majority Leader, saying suspicious package found. The dogs didn't react in a way that would give them cause for concern, but they went ahead and acted on that anyway. Now, we don't know if there's some other development that has caused the security folks to have the Capitol evacuated. But as you can see, it is proceeding. People are pouring out of the House side. Kate Snow telling us these are members of Congress and others who work in the staff. And right now we see security vehicles pulling up. This looks like at least a part of a motorcade. People running to jump in. I can only guess who is in there or nearby. But again, more members of Congress and others who work at the Capitol coming down these stairs. This is just, as no one who's watching is surprised to know, this is just a very tense time, not just in Washington and New York and in many other of our important large cities around the country, where people who work in government, people who work in finance, as New York has seen, have every reason now to wonder whether the next threat that comes along is a real one.
Judy,
Kate?
Yeah, let me tell you a couple of things, Judy. I just was talking to members as they're walking by here. I'm told that there's a suspicious package verifying what Jon Karl had reported. I'm also told by our producer, Ted Barrett, that he's just spoken with the spokesperson for the Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert, who says indeed there was a suspicious package and that, in his words, a dog got a hit on it. In other words, a dog found it to be suspicious. This is all very preliminary, Judy, but that's what we're hearing as of right this moment, that there was a suspicious package, and that's why they're evacuating the members of the House.
Yeah, these are the kinds of situations where we can only piece information together. We're not able to talk directly with the people in charge of security. We're basing this on, well, in some instances, we think secondhand information. Jon Karl had talked with Senator Daschle. You've been talking with an aide to House Speaker Dennis Hastert. I don't know if Jon Karl, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm actually, yes, go ahead, Judy.
No, go ahead. I just want to ask you what the reaction is. What are people saying as they stand around there and wait?
I'm standing next to Senator McCain. Would you like to ask him directly?
Sure.
He's right here is one of those who had to evacuate. Here he is.
Hello, Judy.
Hello, Senator John McCain.
I haven't seen all the senators this close together in many years.
Are people taking this seriously?
Oh, I'm sure that they're taking it seriously. Otherwise, they wouldn't have told us to come out here on the lawn.
Is this the first evacuation order since Tuesday morning at the Capitol?
As far as I know, when I've been here, it's the first evacuation since Tuesday morning. Yes. My understanding is that, and this is third hand, is that there was a suspicious package in the Capitol. Is what I heard, but I'm not sure positive that's true.
Senator McCain, you've been around a long time. You've worked obviously in the military. You know how some of these security operations work. How do the security people go about distinguishing between what's a real threat and what's a hoax?
I don't know, except that in the case of if it's just a phone call, it has to have some kind of corroboration. Again, this is third hand, and I hesitate to repeat it, but I was told that the dogs reacted negatively to this package, was the reason why they gave it some credibility. So, but I want to tell you that I heard that third hand, and I'm sure that if I gave you an inaccurate depiction of the situation, that it'll be cleared up within an hour or so.
But, Senator, isn't it your sense that the security has been beefed up there at the Capitol since the incidents of Tuesday?
Oh, absolutely. The security has been beefed up, and I think it's very appropriate that that be the case.
All right, Senator John McCain.
All right, I'm going to give you back to your crack correspondent here, okay?
All right, Senator John McCain answering some questions for us, borrowing the telephone of our our correspondent, Jonathan Karl. Jeff Greenfield, who is our CNN senior analyst in New York City, is with us now. Jeff?
Judy, this is one of the costs of what happened Tuesday, and it's one of the costs that is going to roll through this country for an indeterminate number of times. The purpose of terrorism is to terrorize, is to make us insecure. What we've seen the last 2 days is the secondary fallout from the horror that's a couple of miles over my shoulder. We've had the Empire State Building evacuated. We've had Penn Station evacuated. There's every reason to think that malicious or stupid or deranged people will be calling in threats on everything from airlines to trains to public buildings. You remember Inauguration Day, how upset some of us were that people going onto the mall to hear the speech of the new president were screened for the first time in American history, I believe. And one of the things that is going on is that the attack on the World Trade Center has ruffled through the entire country and made insecurity a way of life. And we don't know how long this is going to go on.
That's right, Jeff. I mean, we have seen in the last few days untold numbers of buildings evacuated in Washington and in New York. I've been saying just today, I was told that at one point they were in New York, they were going to evacuate LaGuardia Airport. Now, I don't know if that was actually carried out.
And it's beyond that, Judy. You know, it's things like the waiter at a restaurant saying, my wife just called, they found a bomb in the Brooklyn Macy's. No, they didn't. But those are the kinds of stories that ripple through neighborhoods and ripple through communities and make everybody on edge. And it's one of the things, I believe, that terrorists try to do when they strike at targets like they did here in New York. I mean, give me one small example. The voting machines in New York are all in every school and apartment building. They're shuttered. That was supposed to happen on Tuesday. That's the way we decide things. But that's been postponed. You know, you can't use a credit card in a lot of shops and restaurants, and you got a tiny indication of the financial fallout. And we always look, of course, for understandable reasons, at the major, unimaginable horrors. Sometimes it's these little things that indicate just how deeply this act has struck.
No question about it. And Jeff, Capitol Police now confirming that both sides of the Capitol, if you will, both houses of the Capitol, both the Senate, which we first had word of from our producer Dana Bash, and then the House. It's simply two parts of one building. The Capitol, the dome you see there, the right side of it, if the camera's where I think it is, would be the House side, the left side, the Senate, the left being the north, and the other side the South. But you can only imagine what is going on in the minds of these security authorities as they try to figure out what's a real threat and what's one that we can just discard and not worry about.
That's exactly the point. It is that every crank phone call now has the credibility of the biggest horror that has ever been visited on the mainland of the United States behind it. And who can blame them for taking seriously what they would have dismissed or handled with a grain of salt 72 hours ago? This is one of the many prices we are going to be paying for what has happened here.
All right, now we want to go to our congressional correspondent, Kate Snow, who's talking with one of the Democratic leaders in the House. Kate.
Judy, this is the second-ranking Democrat in the House, David Bonner, Democrat from Michigan, a man who's clearly very calm right now. Tell me what you know about what's happened here.
Well, we were on the House floor, and we're getting an intelligence briefing by the intelligence community, and the House floor was filled with members of the House, and I was told by a staff that there had been some evacuation in the Senate, and so I grabbed Bob Menendez, who was sitting next to me, and we rushed downstairs to see what was going on through the Sergeant-at-Arms office, and he came up the stairs at the same time mentioning that there was a package that was unidentified, and that they wanted to clear the Capitol. So people have come out of the Capitol and are on the grounds now, and they're checking it out.
And do you know where that package is or what kind of a package
I do not. I don't know any details other than that. I heard some rumors in the back here about the Hart Building as well.
That's one of the Senate
office buildings. It's just a block from here. But obviously they're not taking any chances, and they shouldn't.
When they evacuated you all on Tuesday, it was the first time in history that there had been a mandatory evacuation of this Capitol, and now this is the second time in history. Does that strike you? Do you think we're on a very trigger-sensitive time right now?
Well, people are sensitive, obviously, but they will not close this Capitol down. We are going right back into the Capitol. We're going to do the business of this country. And those who have perpetrated this crime against this nation are going to be dealt with justly, but severely and swiftly.
I noticed they did not take the Speaker of the House. I believe he's right over here to our right.
Yeah,
although
he's just down
he's
the
just down
wall
the
here.
way there. The Speaker was evacuated on Tuesday immediately as soon as they knew about the Pentagon incident. Does that tell us something that he's still standing here? Does that tell us that they don't take this as seriously?
Well,